Hey everyone, it's Michael. I hope you're doing well today. My first actual review is this video for this channel, or this reboot of this channel. Of course, we went from Monsters reviews of Universal stuff to now doing just about anything we want on the channel. So, for me, I have a game that I want to talk about that, as you can see from the picture, is The Sims 2 for Game Boy Advance. And you may be wondering, Michael, why are we talking about I almost said a Grand Theft Auto game. Why are we talking about, Michael, a GBA game from 2004 of a game series that is long played out apparently, or people say, and should be dead? Well, I would tell you, fuck yourself, number one. Number two, I love The Sims. I have quite a few Sims games in my collection of games and all that, and I love it. I think there's a lot of good stuff from the Sims franchise, but I'm actually very particular about what I like from The Sims. For example, a lot of my childhood was focused around a particular game called The Urbz Sims in the City, which is more of an urban-based Sims game, but it is part of the franchise. It uses the same kind of character art and style as this particular game right here, The Sims 2. I literally just found out about this game not even 2 months ago, The Sims 2 for GBA. Never owned it until now, and I absolutely fell in love with it because of a couple of things I want to start off with. Of course, I talked about The Urbz a minute ago. When I was a kid, my next-door neighbor, at my grandparents' house where I basically grew up, my next-door neighbor had basically a babysitting company, like under-the-table babysitting, if there is such a thing. I don't think, by God's grace, there should be such a thing called that, but the government decides otherwise, I guess, and they suck. My next-door neighbor kept babies and kids and teens and stuff, and I had a friend that I went to school with, and we were very close. His name was Graham, and Graham was a great guy. I got a DS, the original Nintendo DS, silver, and I put an exploding atomic bomb sticker on it, which ruined the look of it, but I still have it. I played Sims 2 for Game Boy Advance on that console, as a matter of fact, this couple of weeks or month or so that I've been playing the game. I've been kind of a little busy, a little here and there. I would play it for a couple of days, and I would have to put it down for a little while, and then I would forget to get back to it. It was what it was. But essentially, Graham showed me The Urbz. And I had never seen a game like that. I was used to seeing PS2 games and PlayStation 1 games and original Xbox games and stuff like that. I didn't have a Nintendo 64. I didn't have a GameCube when I was growing up until I got a little bit older, probably closer to 12 or 13. I bought both of those, ended up getting a Wii at some point, so on and so on. Anyway, getting back to The Sims, Urbz Sims in the City was just amazing. I couldn't believe that it was like a real-life simulator. I fell in love with it. The music is wonderful. The art style is wonderful. Like I said, the art of the Urbz game is just like the one from this game, and also another Game Boy Advance game called Sims Bustin' Out, which is also excellent, if not better than The Sims 2, in my personal opinion. And then as time went on, I got The Sims 2 for DS, and The Sims 2 for DS is also excellent. It's basically you running a hotel, and it's amazing. It's in 3D, unlike this kind of more 2D style that this particular Sims 2 for GBA has a style of, or the Urbz, which also has like a more of a 2D style. The 3D style to it of The Sims 2 for DS was amazing, and in my opinion, revolutionary for Sims. Now, eventually, a couple of years later, I got The Sims 2 and The Sims 2 Pets, I believe is what it was, for the PlayStation 2. My cousin and I would play that. I rented Bustin' Out for PS2. Wasn't a fan of that, but I did buy the GBA game of Bustin' Out. Loved it. It's a completely different game, more in the idea of this GBA game we're talking about, The Sims 2 or The Urbz Sims in the City. It's more of that style. The very 2D, top looking down on a city type of thing where you're running around doing stuff. In that game, you live inside of a clock tower, and it's amazing. I love that game too. The Sims 2 for Game Boy Advance really seems to be the beginning of something really special that was never pulled through on anymore from what I can tell. I love The Sims 2 Pets for GameCube. That's a great one too. I like the games where you can physically control a person and walk around as them, playing as that character. That's the whole point, in my opinion, of playing a game called The Sims. You're simulating life. Whereas many of them, even the original ones like SimCity, it seems like you're playing more of a god character. You know, you're looking down, you're pointing here, pointing there, and basically putting interest in the heart of these characters and making them go do stuff. I don't like that. It's not as fun, in my opinion. I like actually simulating life and playing that. The Sims 2 for Game Boy Advance, like I said, I just found out about. I was looking online for other games like The Urbz, the one for DS specifically, not the shitty GameCube one that I can't stand. I do not like the one for GameCube. But I do own it somewhere. I might have gotten rid of it finally, but I think I own it somewhere. Anyway, was not a fan of that. Wasn't a fan of the PS2 version of Bustin' Out. I love the whole top-down 2D T-Do. It sounds like an R2D2 thing. I like this type of style, this Game Boy Advance more look of it. Of controlling a character walking around, you're paying their bills, you're making them actually go eat, but you're playing as that person, not watching them go do things, which is the difference on Sims games for me. I wish we had way more of these. I wish we had so many more. There are ones for like the PSP that didn't really have any fun action to them. I think there was one PSP game. It might be The Sims 2. I haven't played that one. I want to play that at some point too, but it's more of a 3D one than a 2D one. And I hear it's good. I haven't heard anything about it. I started watching a walkthrough. I decided to wait until I could get the game and play it myself, assuming my PSP still works. I haven't played it in about 10 years. Literally have not turned it on in like 10 years, because I used to play GTA, Liberty City Stories, and Vice City Stories all the time on that. And I have a couple of games over here too. Dragon Ball Z, Shin Budokai, I think is what it is. Yeah, Shin Budokai 1 and 2. Those are great. Just had to take a taste of my drink. They had so much for PSP. And the Sims 2 game for that I didn't know anything about either, so I hope to play that at some point as well and do a review for here on the channel. Anyway, getting on to the actual review, this is going to be a lengthier one just because I have so much to rave about. To me, it's very clear this is the earliest version of a handheld Sims game with this kind of 2D look to it. This is before the Herbs, as far as I know. This is before Bustin' Out, I believe. And it's great. It's genuinely a great game. I loved it. It's not perfect, in my personal opinion, the way the Herbs and Bustin' Out are. Because the Herbs and Bustin' Out had a whole new, and the Sims 2 DS game, they all had this kind of free roam feel to them, and I love that about them. They feel like better games, in my opinion, because of that. Yes, I have some corrupted files and stuff I can't really play or use anymore, but I'm playing through the games now again, because I'm having such a blast with it. My wife is also loving it. And this is on the side of everything else in my life. So, The Sims 2 for Game Boy Advance. How does this game actually play up? Of course, like I said, these games, you actually have an actual plot. You're not just simulating life as a god, watching people do things that are dumb and laughing when they get electrocuted and stuff. You're actually doing things. You're actually playing mini games. You're walking around town talking to people, not forcing two people to talk to each other. You're living in that world. You're specifically simulating that world. And this game has a smaller scale setup, in my opinion, but it's still a mildly nicely sized map of so many places you can go to and get involved with things here. The story is generally that you get hired by a very famous 2D Sims character named Daddy Big Bucks. I have a hard time calling him Daddy. I really do. It's a weird one. Daddy Big Bucks basically hires you on to be a reality TV star, and essentially you're going into a town. I cannot remember the name of the town to save my life. It might just be Strange Town, like it is in some of the other games. You're going into a town that there are going to be hidden cameras everywhere, and they're basically making a TV show out of it. And every time you pick a new episode to start, which are like, there's 3 seasons, you pick an episode of one of those seasons you kind of play through. You don't have to play in order, you can pick them out. But eventually you have to pay and unlock for certain episodes, not with real life money, but with money from the game. And really, like, it's not even really money, it's something else. You have to unlock episodes. You can't get all of them, though. One of them is a bullshit level that you actually have to connect a Game Boy to your Game Boy that also has Sims 2, which is some bullshit, you know? So I'm kind of mad about that. But even so, I did watch the last chapter that I couldn't unlock, but everything else you can pretty much do in here and play, and I did pretty much get it to almost 100%. I care more about the storylines and the world building and stuff when I play video games. I don't really care about whether I'm able to complete them or not. For example, I have literally started Fallout 3 like 25 times just to play the beginning because I suck so bad I never could beat the game. I'm just not good with games like that, so I don't even bother buying like Fallout 4 and so on and so on. But I love the actual game itself, Fallout 3. Never completed it, never will, because I'm so bad at games. But Sims 2 is one of the ones that it's not too severe. I was able to beat it. I like easygoing games like this. I find kind of this odd comfort in them. Very much like people do with Animal Crossing. I'm actually playing my first Animal Crossing game right now. It's New Horizons for Switch with my wife. She gave it to me for Christmas, and we're loving it. We're having such an amazing blast. And I noticed that it's the same situation. It's not that it's a positive game, and it is, but it's not that appeals to me. It's more about there's something relaxing to that environment and the music and everything else that comes with it, the type of graphics, the cartoonish style. This Sims 2 GBA game, just like the Herbs for for DS and Sims 2 for DS and Bustin' Out for GBA, they have that same type of environment. There's something nostalgic and comforting, even if you're playing it for the first time as an adult. And like I said, this particular Sims 2 GBA game is different from the one that's called Sims 2 for DS. You're not a hotel manager in this game. You're a reality star that people don't know about in the town, and you're doing different episodes and stories, and they're so wild and wacky and cartoonish, like I said, and it's a blast. And to be so different, and to have the integrity on top of that as a company, to put out different versions of Sims 2 per handheld. The PSP one is different from the DS and the GBA console games. I respect the hell out of that. That takes time, that takes teams, that takes money and effort. And I don't think everybody would go out and buy every single version of the game. I think the companies were hoping for that, but I think where they advertised all of them as The Sims 2 when I was growing up, that's probably why it happened that way. I assumed growing up that The Sims 2 for Game Boy Advance was the same thing I was playing on DS most of my childhood. It was not, and I'm very sad about that. But I'm also glad that I came across it by doing a quick Google search. I found out about this game. And the whole reality star thing, it's nice. It's a different type of Sim story, and I liked it, even though it was kind of the first one like this as far as I know. I enjoyed it, but it also feels weird to me, because if I want to play the game and be in that environment, I have to be within the bounds of an episode. Which means you could get in there and you could just not accomplish the goals you have to accomplish to complete the episode. And as far as I know, you don't unlock any kind of free roam after all that and after the story is done. Of course, like I said, there's a final chapter thing called the 5-year reunion for the show that you have to have another Game Boy to connect with. I don't even think after you complete that if you get a free roam. But even so, being in the environments during an episode is not a big deal to me. I just find it kind of annoying. I like to play Sims 2 for DS and the Herbs for DS, where I can just kind of wander around now that I've finished the story. I've done everything I possibly can do. I want to be in that world more. I want to enjoy that time. I want to enjoy those characters more. And when you complete it all, there's a satisfaction that you don't get from anything else. I don't get that with reading. I don't get that with comics. Maybe sometimes with books and stuff. But movies and TV shows, it's kind of hard for me to get that feeling a lot of the time, honestly. But I will say, this game is not perfect. I don't like the fact that I have to be inside of an episode chapter thing to be able to be in that world and play it instead of having an unlocked free roam. I think the locked up, you need 2 GBA consoles with the Sims 2 game chart package, whatever it is, inside of both consoles to be able to unlock the final chapter. I think all that's some bullshit. It honestly pisses me off. It's not a perfect game. But everything that they failed at here, which are very few things, very, very small nitpicks that I have, they improved immensely upon in the Herbs for DS, the Sims 2 DS, I'm assuming the PSP DS, or the PSP Sims 2 game. I don't know. I could be wrong. But Bustin' Out is also a great example of one that was a huge improvement in my opinion. I absolutely loved this game. I thought it was so great. To play it as an adult who never played this game before, that should tell you volumes about how much fun I had. The music is cute. The world is cute. I like this whole reality TV star thing that's playing into it. I love how cartoonish this game is. That's what I love about the Herbs. Sims 2 for DS has some cutesiness to it, some very cartoonish aspects to it. You literally become a character called Ratman in that game. Like, you can play like a Batman superhero type of thing with his own rat cave and stuff. It's great. I love it tremendously. I recommend those games so much. But the Herbs for DS specifically has a very cartoonish nature to it. And I love that that same type of humor was brought from this game to Bustin' Out to the Herbs for DS. And there was also an Herbs for GBA, but it's the same thing as the DS console game. I love how that cartoonish nature, because see, in the Herbs, you could have everything from later on in the story having some time travel stuff, which is not a big spoiler, or having just, different issues that pop up here and there that are pretty fun, pretty enjoyable in a cartoonish, nice way. Dinosaurs in the Herbs game at some point. Here you have things like you might drink a certain type of cola and it might shrink you and another character down to a very, very small bug size where you have to fight off ladybugs and stuff with a poison can spray that had leaked on the floor into your water gun you carry around to try to remove them out of your way so they can't kill you. the ladybugs are genuinely scary. They're threatening, honestly. And each of these games have a little bit of that. There's a guy in the Herbs that I'm currently playing through the Herbs again right now called the Red Man, and it's a play on the Devil Went Down to Georgia song by Charlie Daniels. It's great. It's a classic. Some of the lines are in there and everything. He's literally a guy dressed up in red. He's got the sinister, creepy laugh. He only comes out at midnight in the woods on a tree stump, and he plays a fiddle with you in a competition. It's great. You know, that cartoonish nature that they maintain there, it amazes me how it probably started right here. And you have other things like SimCity, The Sims 2, all those things that came out between this game or even before it that were technically cartoonish in style, but they didn't feel like they hit the nail on the head the way this game does, and the games that come after it, for me, really hit the nail on the head. The Sims 2 for Game Boy Advance is fun. It's cute. I like the music. I love that there was a surprise on here that at some point I could get a motorcycle again. That is my biggest thing that I love about the Herb Sims in the City. I can't remember in Bustin' Out for Game Boy Advance if you get a motorcycle or not, but I know you at least have a scooter of some sort. But I think there was a motorcycle in that. Anyway, you get a motorcycle in here at one point, possibly. And it's not a spoiler either. It's part of, you know, the opening menus when you go from chapter or episode to episode. When you finish an episode, you're picking the next one out. There's a thing in there that you can unlock it for like 80 credits or whatever, or 80 simoleons or whatever it is. Simoleons? What are the freaking currency called in these freaking games? I don't understand. This world's concept of explaining what a simoleon is or how to pronounce it is ridiculous to me. It's some bullshit. Anyway, the game is so much fun. I love characters that I've been talking to forever, like Tank Grunt, and who else? Dusty Hog is in here. He's your next door neighbor. His mom, Mama Hog, is in this. All these characters that you know from the GBA and DS games are in this, and they're so much fun. They're just as fun as they used to be. Very few are different. It's amazing to me. I love them. I love seeing those people. It was like reuniting with old friends that I haven't talked to in 15 years. You know, it was such a great, great feeling to come into this game and see familiar faces, even though they're all digital cartoons. As sad and lonely as that sounds. I'm married and I have a wife, and I'm worried about cartoon people that don't exist. And encountering them and talking to them. After 15 years on top of that. It was like a uncool high school reunion. Anyway, the controls are fine. They're suitable to me. Some of the mini games in this game are some bullshit. Let me just tell you that. There's ones like this one particular mini game you play. And of course, the mini games are your jobs where you earn money. To upgrade, of course, you have to do like this. You have to go find this one guy and read books that you buy from him and stuff. It's not like you can just lift weights or something to get more body and stuff, which again are things they improved on future games. But here, you literally just read books for everything, you know, to improve any skill set that you need. Anyway, for the mini games, a lot of them are some bullshit. I'm going to go through some of them if I can remember them all. You get upgrades. There's like 5 levels per mini game that you can reach to, and the more you go up, the more skills are needed, and you also make more money, and you have less time to do the jobs that you're doing. So there's one called Bigfoot Loves Chicken, or Bigfoot Love Chicken. You basically have 4 chickens pop up on the screen. You have to change them to different colors to the right code. Now, the thing I noticed is that Bigfoot shakes his head no and stuff all the time, and I thought that was supposed to be the hint, according to the directions that they give you, which is some bullshit. I assumed that him shaking his head was, no, I don't like that, or no, I don't want that. That's not how you play that game, because every time you try to hit the A button to send the freaking chicks on to see if that's what he wants, you get like a bubble, like an air bubble, like in a comic book beside the Bigfoot that says like something out of 4. Like it's a division-looking thing. And I didn't understand what that meant. I thought it meant like I had 4 of these sets I needed to complete and send out to him. And I got pissed because I couldn't do it right. Well, then I read online how you play this game, and it was not described to you properly. If there was no internet back in the day, you would not make enough money off this very fast as you played this game. I can only imagine the frustration kids went through back in the day while this game came out and kids were playing on the Game Boy Advance and didn't have a computer. It would have been such bullshit. I was getting mad as an adult playing this because I couldn't figure it out. The instructions are so light. They do not upgrade every level that you go up in a minigame. It's ridiculous. I did not realize that what this was actually saying was like, hey, out of the 4 chicks on the screen, you got this many colors right out of 4. So I hope if you're watching this review right now, if you've listened to me ramble for 20 minutes, I hope that you realize that that's what you're doing wrong, or that's what you did wrong when you were a kid. Let's move on to the next mini game. There's one, it's like an auto shop. It's called Chop Shop, I believe. And you basically have 3 bins, and you use your directional arrows to point left, right, or up, where you sort out the stuff. Now, every time you play this game, it's not like you can just memorize which one's up. Like the green one is up, the red one is left, the blue one's to the right. It's not like that. They change around places on you. Then as the conveyor belt goes in front of your character, you have to pick up these things by pressing the A button and then throw them away into the right bin with the right color. And from what I can tell, I could be wrong about this, but the one that has the least amount in it is the score that you got, which is also some bullshit, because like the highest I can reach is like 15. That game gets so difficult, and the conveyor belt stuff is moving so fast that I couldn't keep up with it. I'll be honest with you. There's supposed to be a challenge. I'm not saying don't have any challenges in my Sims games. I'm saying be prepared if you pick up this game. It's going to be a little bit more difficult than you thought it would be. There's also one where you're driving this little thing around picking up cow poop on Jed, the farmer's property. And you have a bull chasing after you. If you touch a cow or the bull hits you, you basically go rocking back and forth. You have like 30 seconds to get all this stuff. If you suck up any of the green slime out in the field, mixed in with the poop, it drains your can. And basically you're trying to suck up enough poop to get your cans increased. Right now, on the last one that I had to end on, I only made it to like level 2. I was supposed to get like 10 cans filled up, and I swear to God, even with the boost function on the left and right top buttons on the actual DS, or Game Boy in this case, I guess you would be saying if you're playing this, but I played them on my DS. Even with those being utilized, you're supposed to be able to, jump over the cows, and you can do that. The problem is if you land on top of the cows, your thing jumps again. Your little machine stuff. It's some bullshit. It sets you up for some stuff that, it just makes you fail constantly. There's no way I'll ever pass to like the second or third levels of some of these games. Again, I'm bad at games, but honest to God, I would be surprised if I saw anybody increase any of their, any of their abilities or being able to be skillful. I would love to see a video of somebody trying to, speed walk through, whatever. I would love to see something like that on a video of somebody playing through this game and trying to burn through all of those levels of that cow pie game or whatever you want to call it. The other mini games were kind of nice. One of them I actually hated a lot. It's like a little car. It's supposed to take off a ramp. You have to put the wings out, and you also have to land it, which is ridiculous bullshit. It's just impossible. Could not get to level 2 on that game for whatever reason. I think there's one more mini game I'm forgetting about, but it wasn't a big deal. The cartoonish nature is really maintained, though. I like how the mummy appears in here again, just like he does in the Sims 2 game for DS. He's also in the herbs, isn't he? I'm thinking he's in the herbs. I could be wrong, but I love how these people feel like a community. They all interact with each other. They do certain things. If you have conversations with them, which, by the way, the conversation function in here is awful. It's as bad as the Sims 2 for the DS. I literally avoid that as much as I possibly can, but there are certain levels where you have to talk to people, and you have to either intimidate them or be friendly to them. There's a diamond on the side of the screen you have to fill up all the way with how many times you use a commandment or a conversational tidbit that you've unlocked. It's such a pain in the ass. I don't even have words for you. I hate that part of the game. When I have watched videos online of people playing this Sims 2 game for Game Boy Advance, I've seen people fail it over and over and over again. People who are clearly pros, who have tons of money in the bank account on the game's screen, who literally cannot pass these sections of the game. It's amazing to me that they're having just as difficult a time as I am. So I know it's not me, because it seems like sometimes the character that you're talking to will accept what you're saying and joking with, and you assume, okay, I'm going to keep using that option. Maybe I'll try some other ones as I go along. And as you get them wrong, it drains your stamina, and you eventually pass out if it runs out. Some of these characters, it's not hard to run out of the stamina and just die or pass out or whatever you want to call it. Then you get transported across the freaking map. But as frustrating as those nitpicks are that I brought up about the game, I love it. I think it's so great. I don't like how the house decorations change, and I can't seem to figure out if I can change it to a different setting that I already unlocked. There's like 3 different settings you can have. One's called friendly, one's called romantic, something else. I forgot what it was called. But there's like 3 different types of setups for your house. It doesn't change like what kind of walls and what kind of rooms you have, but it changes up the general look of them. And I can't figure out if I can change them back or not. I'm not really happy with the one I currently have. I think it's the romantic setting or something. It was the last one I unlocked. But It's neat. It's a cool game. I wish you could buy properties, but again, that kind of came later on with the herbs. That was a really great function there. I think Bustin' Out had you go to like 2 or 3 different properties in the game, which was also great. Even so, The Sims 2 for Game Boy Advance, it's great. I love it. It's not perfect, but I do love it, and it has a very, very special place in my heart. I really enjoyed this video game. I'm glad I bought this. I'm glad I played it for the first time in 2022. I might have played it at the tail end of 2021, like December. But it was worth the $25 or whatever I put into it to get it from eBay. Came in not damaged, thank God. No box, but I don't care. As long as the game works, which was what I was mainly concerned with and mainly nervous over. It's wonderful. I recommend it highly if you haven't played it before. It's so much fun. It's so sweet and cute. It's adventurous. Like I said, there's so many things that come into play here. Everything from the shrunken down cola story to... there's one called Blackout as an episode where the power goes out in the entire town. And that was really fun. It's just a really great game. I like the desert setting outside of where your street is. A lot of this episode, or this game, has a big desert theme to it. It feels like it's kind of the middle of nowhere, but if you go to certain areas on the map, you literally will go into like caverns and stuff, which are cool. You can go up in the mountains at one point. You can actually go inside of a mountain that's like a frozen ice place. It's pretty neat. It's a great game. I highly recommend it. I love it to death. It's not what I would consider perfect the way I consider the Herbs Sims in the City for DS, and I assume the GBA game as well because they're the same thing. It's not perfect like I consider that game perfect. It's not perfect like I consider The Sims 2 for DS pretty much perfect. It's not perfect the way I consider Bustin' Out to be perfect from what I remember of that game. But have you played The Sims 2 for Game Boy Advance? Do you love it? Do you hate it? I know that's a long review that I've made. But man, I just had to get that off my chest. I feel so much better after raving about how wonderful I love this game so much. It was just worth every cent. When was the last time you played a game that you felt this way about, old or new? It's been a long time for me since I played a game like that. I'm currently replaying through Grand Theft Auto San Andreas for PS2. That's a great example of one that I haven't played in a long time. I used to play it to death with my cousin when we were growing up, and I would go to my grandparents' house over in another part of Virginia for my dad's weekends when my parents split up. And we used to play that game to death. And as I'm playing through the story again now, and being in that environment, that world, not only is it comforting to me, but it also, there's something so explorative and adventurous, even though it's not like a supernatural thing. It just, the way that game is conducted, it's more of a straightforward, crime story type of thing with a little bit of a revenge plot in there, some mystery. And there's something about it that just rings home with me. And this game did that too. And I feel better when I play games like that, because there's something special there. It's the kind of thing that GTA 5 doesn't have for me. I like GTA 5. It's not perfect, and it's not great like 4 or San Andreas or Vice City. But you see what I'm saying? Like the newer Sims games, the Sims that are like the God looking down type of gameplay, they don't hit me the way the games like this do. You know what I mean? Anyway, when it comes to The Sims 2 for Game Boy Advance, I love it. I highly, highly, highly recommend it, especially if you love the DS Sims 2 game, or the Herbs for DS and GBA, or Bustin' Out for Game Boy Advance. If you love those games, I cannot tell you how much you're missing out on this game. It is so much fun. It's not perfect. I don't like the episode setup thing. I think there should be some change on that once you complete the game. But overall, man, it's a great game. I highly recommend it to you guys. Have you played it? What did you think about it? Put your thoughts and comments down below. Thank you for listening to me ramble for half an hour if you sat through this garbage. And anyway, I'm going to go get some dinner with my beautiful wife. And thank you for watching. God bless you. Goodbye.